Election Watcher Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEO, is warning the numerous legal suits brought against the Electoral Commission could affect whether or not we'll vote on December 7, 2016.
If the courts do not expedite action on this, then it means that we are going to have a trial.
Now, the Commission's decision to disqualify several political parties, including the Progressive People's Party, has attracted a salvo of legal suits from those parties seeking the courts to overturn that decision.
EC has not been very, very careful because we want a credible elections and don't give people the chance to use that to go to court again.
But the EC says it is ready to respond to all the writs.
We have also been served with a court suit filed by the PPP. So the Commission will soon sit down and decide on a number of issues, and they will certainly be getting back to the press and the people of Ghana.
Well, CODEO says the situation is alarming. We'll be hearing from the National Coordinator of CODEO and also get responses from the EC, plus some independent analysis on the matter. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. The Electoral Commission continues to face a mountain of legal suits by political parties it says are not qualified to contest the polls. Now, the Commission's decision has attracted suits from the PPP, the National Convention, the People's National Convention, and the National Democratic Party, and now the Great Consolidated People's Party, which are seeking the court to overturn that decision. We can listen to Henry Latte of the GCPP.
There was a small problem though, and it's to finish the whole form. In my anxiety to answer, I answered Mr. Make's point. All we have to do is change. How long will it take to change that? Not even 1 minute. It could have been done. Still, they did not call us. They did not call us. Can you see? Vice Presidential, and my name is there, not his name. We filled the forms in. But because in my anxiety to finish quickly, I made a slight mistake, and that can be corrected. How many minutes? 1 minute? They did not call us. Meanwhile, they say he did not have his particulars. What is that not his particular here? Is that not his details there? Please look at it. We have to be very, very careful. The EC has got to be very, very careful because we want a credible elections and don't give people the chance to use that to go to court again. I know that now they've seen that mistakes, they're going to correct it. I have a very capable lawyer. If they don't do it, we'll take them to court and be embarrassed. They'll be so embarrassed they won't know what to do with themselves. I'm ashamed and I'm saddened, but life sometimes we all make mistakes. And once you make a mistake, be corrected.
APC's Hassan Ayariga is also set to head for the Supreme Court tomorrow.
This is one of the documents, the 4 nomination forms we sent to the EC. I got one back from them, and I want to open to the whole world to see that if the camera is looking, can point to here, that states current residential address, and we can all see house number 40, Atefio Latte Avenue, West Legon. I will turn back to the back page again, where you have it again. If you look here, again, is the current address, where my finger is, house number 40, West Legon. I don't know which document she got, and she made such false accusation, telling the whole world that Ayariga could not fill his documents properly.
But subsequently, they sent you this letter.
Yes.
On the 10th of October, detailing reasons why you were rejected. And just to read it for many who are watching to see it for themselves. It says, 1, for the following reasons, they are unable to accept your nomination forms. 1, 2 subscribers to your nomination as presidential candidates for the APC have also subscribed to the nomination forms of another candidate, and their names are here. Two of them.
Two of them.
Yes.
But you see, they didn't mention here that I could not fill my forms. And that was an insult to Ghanaians, to lie to Ghanaians about things that were not there. And I think she should apologize to Ghanaians and to myself for lying to Ghanaians that I could not fill a form. That is an insult to my integrity. Looking at the letter, they said two subscribers,
yes,
actually did subscribe for APC and another political party. If you read here, you have it. Read E.
That the nomination forms are not properly signed by all the subscribing voters.
And they were signed by all the subscribers. So for you to say
not properly signed, but they weren't signed. Said not properly signed.
What is the name? What's the difference between signature and properly?
Well, you have to ask the EC. Have you asked them?
We want to discuss the EC. That's why we're here, so that people who also know the mistakes they've made so far. If you say they were not signed, they were signed actually.
They said they were not properly signed.
But they were
there's a difference between signed and not properly signed.
Once
it means there's a protocol for signing which you didn't follow.
No,
in their view.
No, I have the document here again. I will open it to the same page for you to see that it's signed properly. 11th of October, Logan and Associates to the EC. We've written to the EC. And since then, that is on the 11th. Today, 17th, a week till now, they have not responded to us. But they have responded to any other political party that wrote to them. But we have a case. Our case is that 432 persons endorsed our documents. And out of the 432, the EC called us to rectify some issues, but could not add these 2 persons they are using to disqualify us. Was it a deliberate attempt to keep those names, to use it to disqualify us, or they themselves didn't know us at then that these 2 people had endorsed someone?
So they have not responded to those documents?
They have not responded to this document.
Are you proceeding to move ahead with the case in court?
What we are doing is that we've given them a second letter today, again, telling them that we have actually not gotten any reply from them. So tomorrow we are going to the Supreme Court. We are not going to the High Court. We are going to the Supreme Court to interpret the laws to the EC.
Which law?
The law 68, Article 68 2E, which says that Ghanaian, before you become a presidential candidate, 2 persons from each district must endorse you. And we got all those endorsements. But the law did not say that if 2 people endorse you, or 2 subscribers endorse you, cannot endorse another person. Or if 2 persons endorse you, and you find problems with it, you cannot change.
Okay.
The law didn't say that.
So we should expect you at the Supreme Court tomorrow?
Exactly.
On this?
On this matter.
Fine.
Well, let's do some analysis now because lawyer Yao Pong, who is a private legal practitioner, joins me on the phone. Good evening to you. Thanks for your time on today's big story.
Good evening.
Now, the EC is having to deal with a salvo of suits in just a short while. Did you envisage this?
Well, thank you very much. I could barely hear your last question.
And I'm saying that, did you foresee this salvo of suits that could be going against the Electoral Commission?
Yes, why not? A system of government that allows people to test the law to a place which gives a final to any dispute or controversy in the system, and that is the court. Fortunately, we have a judiciary that is independent in all respects, and we expect that their decisions are decisions that people will find to be final and comply with it. So that is the best way to resolve it now, instead of taking up in insulting conduct. But, well, it may not be desirable case, but it is the option to choose and determine these matters. And the rules that relate to these matters ought to make that proceeding expeditiously in court so that there will be finality.
Cordell is worried the copious suits could affect whether or not the 2016 elections will be held on December 7. Now, what are some of the possible remedies we could have from these suits, and could postponement of elections be one of them?
Well, it depends. I mean, if someone goes to court, they have to file an injunction. I think that it appears to be a dominant position of the law. So long as there is no injunction or determined, once people perform especially a constitutional function. And so I think that until an injunction is filed, the EC may not find itself breaching any law if all they do is rather comply with the law and perform their constitutionally sanctioned function. And so I can't see how that may, in a way, derail or cause a delay to the performance of that function by the EC.
Well, many thanks to you, Lawyer Yao Pong. He's actually a private legal practitioner. Many thanks for your time on today's big story. We can now listen to Albert Kofi Ahen, who is the national coordinator of CODEO, who still thinks that the myriad of suits against the Electoral Commission could affect the timetable.
I know from IPAC and from talking to some of the people there that at least with the receipt of the nomination, the fact that a lot of it is being processed now, one would say that the commission is actually almost ready for this election. The only snag, the only problem that we foresee is that if the courts don't expedite action on this suit that has been filed against the commission, and by this I'm talking about the PPP suit against the Electoral Commission. If this thing is not handled carefully, and if the courts do not expedite action on this, then it means that we are going to have a track. And I believe strongly that if this should go on and no solution is found, then the commission will have a problem with this timetable.
Well, it looks like a tough decision or a tough situation for the EC to deal with. But Communications Director at the EC, Eric Jakpaso, says the Electoral Commission would meet over all the suits presented to them and know the way forward.
You know, we received these nominations and per the laws and our understanding of the laws, we vetted and accepted those forms that we could accept, and those that we could not accept, we rejected. And so we have a number of candidates accepted to contest the election, and we have also been served with a court suit filed by the PPP. So the commission will soon sit down and decide on a number of issues, and we will certainly be getting back to the press and the people of Ghana.
If you say sit down, is the commission going to call all the disqualified candidates to, hear their issues again before you go ahead?
The commission would meet and then would decide on all these issues. But I per our press release on the after the receipt of the nominations, I say we were very emphatic in saying that some have been accepted and some have been rejected. As to whether the commission would want to meet those whose nominations have not been accepted for further discussion, I'm not yet in a position to say.
Mr. Jakpaso, you keep mentioning the Electoral Commission meeting. When is this meeting supposed to take place?
It's supposed to take place within the week. In fact, the commission intimated is that they would meet and then they will come out. But to the date, I'm yet to know.
Let's now speak to a political science lecturer at KNUST, Dr. Edward Brenya. Good evening to you. Interesting times, right?
Very interesting. Good evening.
So, did you foresee the situation, and from where you sit, are you worried?
I'm not worried at all at what is going on, because at the moment what we are looking at is an institution that is guided by law, which is applying its law. So to me, the Electoral Commission is arguing legality, where many of these political parties are making moralistic arguments. They will have to take the court of law to decide. But I believe strongly that the court of law don't want to see the electoral calendar change. And therefore, I believe that we'll still vote come December 7th.
So if the possibility of postponement of election date arises, what could be the implication for our electoral process?
Oh, I think the only thing if for instance, the date should change, voters are still going to be ready to vote on whatever date. The only problem will be the timetable for the transition into a new, for the new administration. The current administration would have to stay longer for the new administration. But as I said, I'm very optimistic that we will not have to, the electoral calendar will not change because the court system will do everything within its power to ensure that whatever legal state is brought on board was declared before December 7th.
It looks like a very tough time for the Electoral Commission this time around, but there are those who feel the EC created these challenges for itself. You agree?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
I'm saying that the Electoral Commission is having to deal with all of these challenges in a short while. In fact, we have very less than 3 months to go for elections. And there are those who feel that the EC created these challenges for itself. Do you agree?
I don't really agree. I mean, what is the EC doing wrong with rejecting nomination form? None of these political parties have actually said that they did not some of the mistakes. Indum is talking about small administrative errors. And some, Apalu and others are talking about the fact that Afaridan will invite them to correct their mistakes. All these arguments that is being made, none of them is saying that the Electoral Commission has actually accused them of something that they did not do. So if an institution is applying its laws, and some people feel that it's not right to apply its laws, then we can ask ourselves the kind of country that we want to be. It looks like we are making it more of a problem for an institution to strengthen itself by applying its laws than when we make the case that institutions can do things of their own. Because it is applying its laws, I don't think the Electoral Commission has brought anything on itself in this particular case.
Well, the warning is that the EC must do everything possible to avert the situation. Is it not too late? Or is there even a way out?
We're listening to the Electoral Commission and it says we are applying the laws that guide our office. I don't think it is illegal to apply the law. And therefore, if we are talking about the EC doing everything within its power to avert the situation, and that really what we are saying, that the EC should do the very thing that will be accusing our institution of not doing, not applying the laws. The Electoral Commission is applying the laws. If there are those that think that application of the law is illegal, the courts are there to judge. And I believe in the kind of court system that we have, that they will do everything to address this issue. To determine whether or not the Electoral Commission is acting out of line.
Does this concern also that, for instance, with just 4 people on the ballot paper and with the removal of people like the Dr. Indum of PPP and Dr. Edward Mahama, the 2016 election is not going to enjoy the normal enthusiasm that characterizes elections in this country?
Since this individual, that their nomination was rejected, we've not seen anything that suggests otherwise. I believe that at the end of the day, one candidate, one political party will win elections. We have 3 political parties and an independent candidate. I don't think it affects the electoral process or the electoral season. The enthusiasm is still going to be there. And big political parties are going to draw their crowds. The independent candidates and the CCP are going to do things that they used to do. In any case, the presidential candidates have been rejected for the 12 political parties, but their parliamentary candidates are still there. And therefore, I don't think we're going to see much of a change in the enthusiasm that goes into elections.
In the last elections, we saw PPP coming as the third force. But now that the PPP is out of the race, will this change or affect the outcome of the elections?
Absolutely. If the PPC is not there, then we can't determine the position. We have three political parties and an independent candidate. The question that we have to look out for is whether or not these 12 political parties are going to decide to support any of the parties that are in the race in an event that the decision of the Electoral Commission stands at its feet. So yes, the dynamics may change. Who may turn out to be the third force might change because they are not on the ballot. But that is how it has to be. It's now between three political parties and an independent candidate. And those are the ones that we have to consider now.
Any prediction as to who joins who? I mean, who joins who, or who joins forces with who? You've been doing some research on political parties.
Yes, it is too early to call. I mean, you would have thought that the Nkrumah's parties would come together. But given the history of their breakaway, it is too early to tell if they would be able to settle their differences and come back and unite as an Nkrumah's party. Rationality requires that if you are not in the race, you would have looked out for a party that more represents your ideology and your values. But given the history of how these parties broke away from their mother party, it is too early to tell. As the court cases ensue, then we'll be able to show what will happen. Now, it looks as if they are so optimistic that they will get back into the election on the ballot box. It is too early, but I believe this will settle out in the coming week.
Now, let's look at the CPP, and that will be my final question. The CPP did not do well in the last elections, but now they are lucky to be on the ballot box. In fact, they are one of the 4 people who will be on the ballot paper. Will this change their fortunes?
Hello?
Yes, Doc, you're still on today's big story. I'm saying that the CPP did not perform well in the last elections. Now that they're lucky...
You're breaking in.
Okay, can you hear me now, Doc? Hello, Dr. Brenya.
The line is breaking. I barely can hear what you're saying.
Well, I think we would have to... What I was saying was that the CPP didn't do well in the last elections. With they being lucky now to be one of the 4 candidates on the ballot paper, will that change their fortunes in the 2016 election? It is very
interesting. In fact, I was hearing a communique by the youth wing of the CPP. I thought that the CPP was going to take advantage of the fact that now the third political party plus an independent candidate on the ballot board, and for that matter, work assiduously to see a change in their political fortune. But today, the youth wing are telling us that their leadership are not doing enough, that they are campaigning, but their target is not for this election, but future elections.
Wow.
That to a large extent tells us that the CPP probably is not that poised in making a difference in their political fortunes. As we said, it depends on who.
Well, I think we lost Dr. Edward Brenya there, but I think he made his point and he made it well. This is today's big story. Been speaking to the salvo of suits knocking at the door of the Electoral Commission, and which the Electoral Commission would have to deal with within some 2 months before December 7, the date when elections is supposed to take or is supposed to go on. And we're getting some warnings from Kodeo that if the Electoral Commission does not do much or all possible to avert the situation or to solve the problem at hand, the election date may be postponed or the elections may be dragged. We've heard from a lawyer, we've heard from a political science analyst, and we think the points they're making that the dates may not be affected, but let's see what happens in court. This is today's big story. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Good evening.